What is going on YouTube? It's your boy Spanko, and today I'm back with a really cool deck profile. And that deck is none other than Dracotail. We are playing K9 Dracotail. It's a really cool version of the deck, but I just want to say before we get into the profile, if you guys are looking for any Dracotail cards or the K9 cards or anything from Justice Hunters, you guys can check out Legendary Collectibles, the link at the top of my description. Use my code SPANKO5 for 5% off any single card that you purchase, so you guys can get your Justice Hunters for a good price. It's never a bad thing, right? And they're providing us with the cards to do this deck profile, so make sure to check them out. With that said, let's get into the deck profile. First things first here is I want to talk about the Dracotail cards. I think Dracotail is one of those decks that's going to get really good post-ban list. Right now the format is really wide, but post-ban list I think it gets really good because they have some really cool cards and really great effects. Let me talk about the Dracotails in general. First things first is all the Dracotail monsters have the same effect, where if they're used for a fusion material, you can set a Dracotail spell or trap from your deck. So any Dracotail card, not just Lucius over here, any Dracotail card you're going to see is going to have that effect, so please keep that in mind. But then they all have different first effects. So Lucius is your normal summon of the deck. We're playing 3 of him. Essentially, if this card is normal summoned or special summoned actually, so it works on special summon as well, which does come up, you can add a Dracotail monster from your deck to your hand. So that's very important, of course, because it's a Stratos, and I'll show you guys why that's important in the combo section of this video. You guys will be getting a combo. This is Lucius, obviously the best normal summon of the deck. Then you're playing 3 Femena. Femena now is a little bit different. Again, it has that secondary effect, but the first effect is during the main phase, quick effect, any main phase, you can discard this card, and then you can fusion summon a dragon or spellcaster fusion monster from your extra deck using cards from your hand or field. So this can turn 0 fusion summon. It can fusion summon on your opponent's turn, which is really good, as long as you have 2 other cards from hand or from your field. But in all your combos, you're always going to be setting that up, so that's not very hard to do, right? So Femena is really good. We of course want to max out on her. She's your best fusion summon card. We do have another fusion summon card. We have the 3 Malulu over here. Now Malulu says during the main phase quick effect, you can special summon a Dracotail fusion monster. So the problem with this is it only summons Dracotail fusion monsters. On top of that, it does lock you into fusion monsters for the rest of the turn, versus Femena doesn't lock you into anything. So that's just something to keep in mind. And this also doesn't activate in hand, it activates on field. So it's more like you normal summon this, then you can activate the effect of fusion summon. Again, it's still fine. You still want to max out on it because it is one of those cards that, one, it's a name, but 2, it still gets you to fusion summon without having to play extra spell cards. And you can use itself as a material, so then you can use a secondary effect to set a card, which is very important, right? So we're playing the 3 Malulu. Now for the 1-ofs, we're playing the quote-unquote bricks. They're not actually that bad in hand, but we're playing the 1 Urgula and the 1 Pan. So they have kind of the same effect, but opposite, if that makes sense. So they still have the effect where if it's sent to the graveyard for a fusion material, you set a card. However, this card lets you pop a spell or trap. This card lets you pop a monster, alright? They also have graveyard effects, which is really cool. Urgula is very important because it actually lets you put itself to the bottom of your deck, so it puts itself back, and you can add a Dracotail monster from your graveyard to your hand. So a lot of the time, you're going to be adding your Femena back so that you can fusion summon on your opponent's turn again. So that's very important. This one, on the other hand, has the effect where you can put it at the bottom of the deck, and then you can special summon a non-fusion Dracotail monster from your graveyard. And again, that's really good as well because you can summon something like a Lucius as a quick effect, and then Lucius is going to be able to trigger the search a card because you are then going to have the special summon effect, and then again you can search a Femena to fusion summon again. So they're both really good in their own right. You have to be playing both of them. Then we're playing 3 Rahu. So Rahu is your essentially branded fusion from the deck. So you fusion summon a Dracotail monster from your extra deck using cards from your hand, deck, or field. Branded fusion is always going to be good, right? So you're always going to be playing the 3 branded fusion, and then you're playing the 3 Keto Dragontail. This card has potentially one of the best effects. So 1, it's a Rhoda. You just add a Dracotail monster from your deck to your hand. But 2, if your opponent controls a monster, it actually becomes polymerization for you. So not only do you add a card, but then you can then polymerization after you add that card, and that's very important. So it's a poly plus an add. This is like a branded fusion for you. So you need to be playing these fusion spells. A lot of the time, you're going to be setting them off of your monsters as well. So that's really important. And then the last 2 cards I'm playing here, you're always going to want to end your end boards on this, is 1 Horn and 1 Flame. Essentially, Horn says target an attack position monster on the field, return it to the hand or extra deck. This says target a face-up spell card, and then you can negate the effect. So any field spells, any continuous spells, you can negate those effects, and then Horn can pop a attack position monster. The issue with these cards, and they're not bad, but the issue is they're technically ashable. And they're technically both ashable because they have effects like built in where you can put them back to the bottom of your deck, which recycles them is nice, and it lets you draw a card. The issue is letting you draw a card means you can kind of lose to ash. But again, your opponent is never going to ash these because if they're ashing these, they're losing the game anyways. So that's still really cool cards that you're always going to want to be ending on. Now, the last thing for engine that I want to talk about is 3 Fenrir. I know we talked a lot about these cards because they're brand new. I'm explaining them a lot, but I promise once you know what they do, they're really good. In the combo, I'll show you guys why they're so powerful. But we're playing 3 Fenrir. Fenrir, I think, is absolutely insane in this format. And the really cool thing about Fenrir that synergizes well with this deck is Fenrir on summon will let you search another Fenrir. So it's always going to replenish your hand with more monsters. And having more monsters means you have more materials to fusion summon with. Plus, you'll have a Fenrir as your end board, which is also really important. So I think Fenrir is one of the best cards to play in Dracotail because for multiple reasons, it synergizes. 1, it gives you more monsters, and 2, it puts up another banish, another disruption. And this deck doesn't put up like 5, 6, 7 disruptions. It's one of those decks that can put up a couple disruptions with these guys, maybe your fusion monster, and then it kind of grinds you out. Versus this is putting up that extra disruption, and the big body helps you kind of push for more damage. So that's it for the Dracotail cards and the Fenrir, which I'm going to say is an honorary Dracotail because it's just so good in this deck specifically. And a lot of your fusion monsters don't require Dracotail monsters. They require 1 Dracotail and then any other card, so that's really relevant. Now let's move on to the K9 engine and why the K9 engine is so good. It's just generically one of the best engines in the game right now. There's no reason not to play it. 3 Izuna, 1 Lupus. I'll explain these quickly. Essentially, the K9 cards, what they do is, these 2 specifically, when your opponent activates a card from their hand, this one summons itself from your hand, and then this one can summon itself from the graveyard. When this one is summoned, you can dump a K9 monster, which a lot of the time you're going to dump Lupus, and then when Lupus is summoned, you can immediately Ixie summon. So on your opponent's turn, you can again turn 0 Ixie summon, which is really, really great. They're really good because the K9 extra deck monsters are crazy. Then we're playing 2 Draco and 1 Lantern. Now, these 2 are a little bit different. They don't summon themselves when your opponent activates an effect. What these 2 do is this one lets you reveal another level 5, which of course you can reveal any of your K9 cards, but technically Femena is also a 5, so you can use Femena here. It lets you reveal itself on any other 5 and summons both of them onto your side of the field. This will then let you search a non-aqua K9 monster, which is any of these guys. Typically, you're going to search your Izuna. And then Lantern is the same thing, but instead of revealing from your hand, if you have a non-pyro K9 in the grave, you summon the one in the grave in this. So that's really nice because they summon themselves, gets you rank 5 fodder. Playing the 1 Case of K9, Case of K9 is a Rhoda. You just search a K9 monster, and then it boosts them by 900. It also has a effect where it can reset a quick play spell if it's destroyed. That's really relevant. And then we're playing the 1 quick play spell, which is the X-Force. The X-Force is really good because on your opponent's turn, or it's during the main phase in general, but typically you're doing it on your opponent's turn, you can target a K9 monster you control, and then Xies over it another K9 monster. When I get to the extra deck, I'll talk about why that's really good, but that's also really prevalent. So the K9 engine again here is not super big, but it's really, really important. And also, opening cards like Lupus isn't necessarily bad, because again, if you're using these for fusion summons, getting it in the grave is never a bad thing. Same thing if you open Lantern and then use like a Joko for your fusion summon, you can then summon it back off of Lantern, which is really nice. So these cards are all really good because they work well with the fusion effects of the Dracotail monsters. And then lastly, we're just playing the best hand traps in the format: 3 Pearlia, 3 Fualos, and 3 Ash. This can be something else other than Ash. I just think Ash is really generic. The reason these are really good is because I hate the Mulcharmies when you're going first because they do nothing for you. In this deck though, they're extra monsters that you can use to fusion summon with. So specifically in this deck, playing these over something like Imperm and whatnot is important because sometimes you just need that extra monster to fusion summon with. So that's why we're playing the monster hand traps here. So that's it for the main deck. It's a 40 card main deck on the dot. I'm really happy with this main deck. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys, okay? I know I talked a lot there. I'm filming all the Justice Hunters deck profiles today, so I'm going to be talking a lot, but these cards are really good, and as soon as you guys understand what these cards do, it makes these decks so much more fun, because this is the first time in a long time in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where there's going to be a lot of interaction without necessarily like negate, right? It's just a lot of back and forth, and I think that's really, really fun. So let's get into the extra deck, and I'm going to show you guys why this deck is so cool. First, we're playing 3 of the Altherion. This is one of the most important cards for you. You're going to make this always on your end board. In fact, your end boards are typically ending on 1 or 1 of this. I'll talk about both cards here. Essentially, if this card is fusion summoned, you can target a monster on the field and or graveyard up to the number of the materials to use to fusion summon, and then you can add it back to your hand. Why that's great is because if you use your Femena fusion summon, this can add back your Femena, which is also really good because it's always going to recycle that. And again, this deck is going to play a more grindy game, and they're also pretty big monsters, so you can actually push for a lot of damage. The other really cool thing about this is technically it doesn't have to be your own cards. So if you use 1 card and you add back Femena, but you can also send back your opponent's cards in their field in their graveyard, so that could be a really cool disruption as well, especially if you're making this on your opponent's turn. That becomes really relevant. And then if this card's in the graveyard and then 2 or more monsters are sent to the graveyard at the same time, you can special summon himself. That's kind of relevant for like turns 2, turns 3, because you fusion summon, so 2 monsters will go to the graveyard at the same time, and then he can summon himself back out. And then you're playing the 2 Grimmel, or now known as Gulamel, which is a very funny name. But when you activate a Dracotail monster card or effect, you can target 1 card your opponent controls and then destroy it. So that's really relevant as well, because again, if you're using Femena on your opponent's turn, you can then use this to pop a card, so it's another form of disruption. And then it has the same effect essentially if 2 or more cards are sent to the graveyard while this card is in your graveyard. graveyard, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. So same thing for the graveyard effects. Then we're playing the 1 Mysterion and 1 Secretarion. These are dragon and spellcaster fusion monsters you guys can make off of your Dracotail fusion spells. These are good in their own right. In the mirror match, this card is insane. You really want to make this. Mysterion is really good as well. This is kind of like a floodgate, right, in the mirror match, which is nice. We're playing the 1 Ripper, the 1 Hound, and the 1 Werewolf. So let me talk about these ones because these ones are new. Ripper, essentially, you can detach a material, search a canine card from your deck to your hand, and then it has another effect where if your opponent activates a card from hand or graveyard, you can negate that effect. Typically, after you use this, you can use your quick play to rank up into your canine werewolf. Canine werewolf has a really cool effect when a monster is using your opponent's hand. If it's on your turn, you can banish a card from your opponent's field or graveyard, and if it's on your opponent's turn, you can look at their opponent's hand and then banish a card from their hand. So it's going to give you that information, but it's also going to be able to banish a card. Hound. This was actually the 15th card I put in. I think it's kind of cool. Essentially, when you summon it, it makes it so that it can't be destroyed by battle or card effect, so it becomes a towers. And then every time your opponent activates a monster effect, it gains 500 attack. You kind of make this when you're like, okay, you know what? I have so much disruption here. I'm just going to make this on my opponent's turn. It's going to gain a bunch of attack, and it keeps the attack forever. So then when it comes back to your turn, you kind of use it to push for a game. Again, it doesn't come up very often, but it was a 15th card. Still really good when it does come up. Then we're playing the 1 Valon and the 1 Chronomaly. This is a Book of Moon, and then when it's sent to graveyard, you pop a back row, and then this card is a monster negate. Again, you make these as your extra 5s if you have extra 5s, essentially. They're not your go-tos. Typically, your canine stuff is your go-to. These are just extras for you. And because you can Ixie summon on your opponent's turn with your Lupus, which I actually didn't talk about Lupus real quick. I'll talk about him real quick. When he summons himself back, he lets you quick Ixies. And it's really cool because you can quick Ixies into this. Like, quick Xing into Typhon on your opponent's turn is absolutely insane. That's why we're playing the Typhon. Same thing, we're playing the Zeus. And then when you're not locked into just fusions, because you can make these a lot of the time on your opponent's turn. Even if you're locked into fusions, this doesn't matter because you summon it on your opponent's turn. SP, when you're not locked into fusion, SP is a really good card as well to make, just a generically good card. So that's it for the deck profile, guys. I know I'm not showing you guys a side deck, but I'm specifically not showing you guys a side deck because this format is so wide open right now, especially pre-ban list. We have the Ryziel Mitsu builds. We have all of the new Justice Hunters decks. We have Malice, we have Orcus, we have Vanquish Soul. So for that reason, I don't want to show you guys a side deck because I feel like I wouldn't be able to show you guys a side deck that's really going to be relevant for a long time. And on top of that, it's not going to be very good. So what I'm going to say is, when you guys go to your locals, if you know your locals is all Yummy players, side for Yummy. If it's all like all the Justice Hunter stuff, side for that. If no one's playing Justice Hunter stuff, side for the old stuff, right? Just wanted to let you guys know. So I actually have 2 Dracotail combos to show you guys in today's video. Because it is a newer deck, I want to show you guys how it operates and some combos that you can do. The first one is our main deck, Lucius or Lucius. And this is very important because this is your best normal summon of the deck, essentially. And this is going to be able to do your full combo, actually, with just itself and any other monster. So it doesn't have to be the Fualos here. You just have to have any other monster so you can fusion summon with it, essentially, right? That's a really cool thing about Dracotail is that if you have extra monsters that could be beneficial going second, in this case, like the Charmies, going first is not that bad because you can use them just for fusion material. So we're going to get started with this combo here. You're just going to start by summoning your Lucius, and Lucius is going to get you a Dragontail monster from your deck to your hand. So you're going to be able to search your Femena, activate the Femena here to fusion summon using your Lucius as well as your Fualos. And I showed you guys that I'm playing Fenrir. If you had Fenrir in this end board here, it would be the same thing because you would start with Fenrir, have the Fenrir on your board, search another Fenrir, and that's going to be the monster in your hand anyway. So you have the same exact end board if you're playing Fenrir, which I recommend playing Fenrir, but you also have the Fenrir on your side of the field, which is absolutely insane. In this case though, we're going to go with the Lucius here. We're going to use Femena to fusion summon, so we're going to use the Fool in hand as the Lucius on their field so that we're able to summon our Altharion. Now Altharion is going to be able to target a monster in our graveyard up to the number of materials used, so you can add a card back to your hand. That's very important. And Lucius is going to be able to set a spell or trap card. So with Altharion, you're going to be able to add back your Femena here, which is very important because you can use it again on your opponent's turn. And then with your Lucius, you can use your Rahu Dragontail, which essentially is a branded fusion for the deck, right? So then what we're going to do is going to activate our Rahu using the Femena in our hand as well as the Urgula in our deck. Now Urgula is very important to use here because Urgula is going to be able to recycle your Femena to your hand again so you can use it on your opponent's turn. And both of these cards, of course, are going to be able to set the spells or traps from your deck. So once you summon your Grimmel here, you're going to be able to activate both your Urgula and your Femena to set 2 cards, and you can set your Horn and you can set your Flame, which are both disruptions, of course, which is very important. And then you can use the Urgula effect that's in your graveyard now to shuffle itself back, put it at the bottom of the deck, and add back a Dragontail spellcaster. So in this case, you're going to be adding back your Femena. And this is kind of your end board here. It doesn't look like a crazy end board, but it is quite strong because you are ending off on both these traps, which are disruptions, a Femena, which means you can fusion summon on your opponent's turn, and you're ending ending on 2 pretty big boss monsters here as well. So this is your basic 1 card or 1.5 card Lucius combo, and it's very, very powerful. Of course, when you're playing the K9 cards, now you can also use the K9 cards on your opponent's turn. So it's really nice because you can play a lot on your opponent's turn with this deck. Now I want to show you guys a second combo here where the card we're starting with is Fenrir, but instead of Lucius, we're actually straight up starting with a Rahu, and that's perfectly fine because you can still full combo with this board. It's going to be the exact same end board, but actually even stronger because you have the Fenrir. But again, if you don't have the Fenrir here, it's perfectly fine. You can do it with any hand trap, right? So let's do this here. We're going to start off with our Fenrir here. We're going to be able to use our Fenrir effect to search another Fenrir. This is why Fenrir I think is so important. The fact that it replaces itself means you still have card advantage, and the extra monster is always going to be useful in this deck to fusion summon with, right? Then you're going to use your Rahu, and your Rahu is going to be able to use the Fenrir in hand as well as your Femena from deck, so you can summon your Altherion, which is your big boy over here, and he's going to be able to add back the Femena, of course, which is important, but you can also use the Femena effect because it was used as a fusion material to set a card. So here you're going to set your other fusion spell card, which is your Key 2 Dracotail. It's going to be able to add, essentially, it's just a Rhoda, but it's a fusion spell if your opponent controls a monster, which is nice. If your opponent doesn't control a monster, it's just an add, but if they do control one, this is where it gets, like, the card gets insane. But in this case, of course, for this combo, we're just going to assume they don't have a card, right? So we're just going to be able to set this and add back the Femena. Now, we still haven't used our normal summon, right? So because of that, we can use our Keto just to search the Lucius, and then now you have the Lucius combo again. You can normal summon your Lucius, search a card to your hand. Here you're going to want to search Urgulia because, or Urgula, or I'm saying that wrong, but anyways, you're searching this because now you're going to use your Femena effect here, you'll see, to use both Lucius and Urgula to fusion summon into your Grimella. And then once you summon your Grimella, the same thing is going to happen. Lucius is going to be able to set one, and your Urgula is going to be able to set one, so you're going to set both traps again. And you still have the benefit of Urgula being in your graveyard, so you can activate it, put it back to the bottom of your deck, and add back your Femena. Now this end board is essentially the exact same end board as the last one, except you're ending on a Fenrir because you opened the Fenrir here. But it's the same exact end board with just a different card. So if you guys don't see the Lucius, then it's perfectly fine. You can still do the exact same board. Now if you guys start with a Keto and you search your Lucius, it's the same thing because now you just have your Lucius 1.5 card combo. That's a really cool thing about this deck. It's extremely consistent, and then adding a card like Fenrir makes these end boards extremely powerful. So thank you guys all for watching. A big shout out to Legendary Collectibles again for providing us with these cards and allowing us to do these deck profiles to bring to you guys. I appreciate every single one of you. I know I talked a lot. There's a lot of cards to explain, but I promise in future videos I won't be talking about that much because you know what the cards do. Hopefully. Yeah. Thank you guys all for watching. With that, see you.
Get up, we want you to get on your feet.